Hey, welcome everyone to the next episode of the Jump In Podcast with me, your host, John Thomas, and I'm excited to be here with all of you. So, when I started this year, I took on that it was going to be a year of transformation for my health, my wealth, and wellness. And I started with committing to building, new opportunities for myself, including this podcast, and new habits that will help me to achieve, my desired results in these areas, especially when it came to my health and wellness. And, just to let you know, I started the year weighing in at 243 pounds, wearing a size 3X shirt, excessively high blood sugar and cholesterol levels. And it was largely due to no regular exercise or fitness regimen, being addicted to my sugary drinks, which I love, and eating whatever and whenever I want it. Hashtag fried foods matter. But, in all seriousness, the impact is that these habits and behaviors took a heavy toll on not just my physical body, but also my emotional outlook on my life. And it even reduced opportunities as a single man for me to attract the women I desired romantically. All of these things suffered due to years of neglect, resignation, and, my resistance to just taking responsibility for my own well-being. Well, in January 2025, I said, finally, enough is enough. I am a leader of other people. I coach folks. I have a business that I've run for over 25 years, and I'm a father of 3 younger children who I love dearly. And they're all under the age of 13. So I want to be around and I want to do things with them. And I know that, if I took this on, that I could and I would do this. However, as anything, right? As soon as you decide to commit to something new, and I knew taking on this areas of my life and doing something about these areas, what immediately showed up was all the doubts, all the concerns that I had. And, my innate desire to, sabotage myself by just giving in to the things that I know that have not helped or served me. I knew immediately as I started thinking, can I do this? Am I committed enough to face my own temptations? Is my willpower strong enough to confront my desire for comfort and gratification? I knew it was going to take something, and it would require me to learn and confront a lot more about myself when it came to my relationship to commitment and willpower, in order for me to dismantle these strongly held beliefs that I had and the views that I created as it related to my struggles in these areas of my life. Now, some of which of these areas, were working just fine, while others were clearly not working or not working as well as they like them to. And so it led me to looking deeper into the subject of personal commitment and the importance of having, demonstrating, and ultimately mastering your own willpower. The results of which have, already showed up in my own life. In just a very short period of time, just by, reducing and eliminating, from my diet, refined sugar, the unhealthy and processed and fried foods, late night snack foods and desserts, and introducing a regular daily exercise regimen, it's led to me to lose over 15 pounds of excess weight. It's reduced my blood sugar levels and bringing them within a healthier range without having medication. And it has definitely helped to improve my outlook on my life, both social and personal, and what my future may hold when it comes to my health, my wealth, and wellness. So in this episode, I'm going to jump right in and I'm going to break down the topic of willpower from my study of both Eastern and Western philosophies and all the perspectives that I know that I want to give to all of you that have allowed me to, identify 15 ways on how to develop and master your willpower. But it starts with you and I both being on the same page when it comes to the definition of willpower. Is willpower considered to be an example of psychological power or inner energy in real life? It's a debate, right? And if so, how can one develop this kind of inner power? Willpower, is the muscle of the mind, which enables you and I to just establish a degree of command over yourself. It's your capacity to sail the ship in a storm, resist the inner tempest, and deconstruct maladaptive habits, as I've shared some of the things I had to break down. In other words, willpower is discipline in action. Now, here's some of the ways that I increase my willpower. I have warm showers followed by a cold one. And in that, I keep my face and my body as relaxed as possible during this entire process. During my new morning exercise routine, I will often go further than I anticipated, essentially pushing myself to go that extra mile. And then usually following my exercise routine, I'm always thirsty. And the first thing I want to do is drink right away. However, I delay it. After stretching and meditating, then I'll drink water, which is, a way of delaying my gratification. And another way is, in order for me to ensure that I read a certain amount each day, I set a timer for 15 to 30 minutes and I do nothing else until it's done. And with, practicing meditation and relaxation, techniques, in the same way, I use the timer so that I only get up when the alarm goes off. Despite my urge to scratch or itch or move, I resist it all until the time is up. Willpower is the ability to resist short-term temptations and achieve your desired results and your goals. Some amount of willpower is required to achieve your desired results and goals. So some of the ways you can increase your willpower is you want to start by setting an achievable and a measurable goal, then break it into smaller steps, and then monitor the progress and the achievement of that progress of each of those steps. Don't deter from your path until the goal is achieved. Now, what I also learned, is that spirituality takes an entirely different view on willpower. Because in spirituality, willpower means ego, and strengthening power means strengthening the ego, whereas spirituality means dissolving the ego. Mahatma Gandhi, a leader in India non-violence movement, right, and a mentor to Martin Luther King, was quoted as saying, "Strength does not come from physical capacity. It comes from an indomitable will." Now, we as humans rely on willpower to exercise, diet, save money, quit smoking, stop drinking, overcome procrastination, and ultimately accomplish any of our goals. It impacts every area of our lives. But what is willpower? People use different definitions to describe willpower. But some of the common synonyms are drive, determination, self-discipline, self-control, self-regulation, effortful control. At the core of willpower is the ability to resist short-term temptations and desires, and in order for you to achieve long-term results. It's the prevailing source of long-term satisfaction over instant gratification. And what I've learned is that according, the American Psychological Association, researchers define willpower as the ability to delay gratification and resist short-term temptations to meet long-term goals. The capacity that you would have to override an unwanted thought or feeling or an impulse. The conscious, effortful regulation of the self by the self. Tony Robbins, a recognized leader in the area of personal and professional development and coaching, has oftentimes shared that your values and decisions work in tandem, influencing each other while shaping the course of your life that your life takes. And understanding what drives your choices is your first step in learning how to increase your willpower. There's a domino effect that starts with your beliefs, what's commonly referred to as the ideals you hold to be true. Your beliefs are shaped by your life experiences, your culture, mentors, education, and your faith. And these influences create a complex system of belief that inspires your values, which is known as what you hold as important. So, for example, if you grew up in poverty, like many of us did, including myself, with very few resources available to you, it's likely you'll come to value stability and autonomy. These values then shape your attitudes towards almost everything. You'll likely be less tolerant of peer pressure and lack of drive, since those things don't really align with your basic desire for security and self-reliance. Eastern philosophy has a different view on the topic of willpower. And, we'll see that from when I discuss mystic called Osho's lectures, right? You'll see that from two of his lectures that I'll be talking about, right? Well, right now you're probably asking, well, who is Osho? And what's his relevance to this week's topic of willpower? So he was born as Rajneesh Chandra Mohan Jain in December 1931. He's also known as Acharya Rajneesh or Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh, and later as Osho. But who he was an Indian godman, a philosopher, and a mystic, and the founder of the Rajneesh movement, which is a big, what most people thought was a cult, in India. And he was viewed as a very controversial new religious movement leader during his life. He rejected institutional religions, insisting that, spiritual experience could not be organized into one system of religious dogmas. And as a guru, he advocated meditation and taught a technique in a unique form called dynamic meditation. Osho rejected traditional ascetic practices, and he advocated that his followers would live fully in the world, but without attachment to it. When he was asked a question, well, what do you mean by willpower? He said that the will means the ego. The will means to fight against existence. Whenever you see somebody fighting upstream, you say he or she is a person of willpower. He says that all will is against existence. You fight with it. You try to do something which is not in the nature of things. You try to force something. If you're violent with nature, then you have will. And many people come to me and they said to him, oh, somehow help us with, to have more willpower. And you'd be like, why? Am I your enemy? Should I help you to become more mad? In the West, willpower is very important because the whole West thinks that to have a strong ego is a must. You should have willpower. You should develop willpower. And thousands of books exist in the market on how to develop willpower. And they're sold because people want to be more and more refined in their egos. Buddha says that passions grow from the will. Desires grow from the will. The I, the ego, is the root of your mind. Your whole mind is centered around the I. The will grows from thought and imagination. And thought comes from the past. Imagination means movement in the future. So whatever you have experienced, thought, learned, that's your ego. And whatever you want to experience in your future, would like to have in your, or even if you would like to have it in your future, is your will. Now, these are two aspects of the same phenomenon. When both are calmed, when thought is no longer there, when past is no longer there, and when imagination, projection, dreaming, future is no longer there, when both are calm, there is neither sensationalism nor transmigration. Buddha says that all sensualism disappears. Then one is no longer greedy for senses and the experience of the senses. His whole teaching is how to be effortless. Even when you're doing something, you should not be the doer. Even when there is action, it should be almost non-action. It should come as spontaneous flowering, not out of willpower. But these are the diseases given to every human being by the whole past. Willpower has been taught to everybody as a great value. Every child is told to have willpower. And willpower is something against your spontaneity. Then you can't be at ease, restful. You ask the question, do you think flowers have to do much to blossom? Or are trees taking bold actions to grow? There's no action at all. Another famous philosopher, Lao Tzu, who's considered the founder of Taoism, a philosophy that emphasizes simplicity, humility, and harmony with nature. He used to say, look at the trees, look at the rivers, look at the stars, and you'll understand actionless action. Certainly, the river is flowing towards the ocean, but you can't call it action because there's no will forcing it to go towards the ocean. It's very easygoing, no hurry, no haste, not even a longing that it should reach, no competition with other rivers that perhaps they may reach ahead of it. It's just simply going. Singing and dancing its dance through the mountains, through the valleys, through the plains, not worried about whether it reaches the goal or not. Every moment is so beautiful and precious that who cares about the tomorrow? Willpower has been used to create a false personality in you. Willpower is another beautiful name for the ugly entity called ego. And one of the great psychologists of this century, Alfred Adler, based his whole psychological analysis on this simple fact. He said that all man's problems arise out of will to power. He or she wants to become somebody special, somebody higher than others, somebody holier than others. And it doesn't matter whether he or she is in the marketplace or the monastery, the struggle is to be on the top. So, what is willpower and how can I use it? Willpower is the established degree of command that you have over yourself in relationship to your environment. It's your capacity to sail the ship in a storm, your ability to resist the tempest. And willpower is resistance in action, to hold back your energy, to manage your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions. Willpower is used in practically every situation of our lives, from eating, if you're in school or studying college, homework, communication, and even just sitting down. Now, why do you think meditation can be such a difficult task? It requires willpower, restraining. How do you use it? You use it to push me, to walk or run that extra mile. When my inner dialogue tells me that I have to walk or run enough, or I walk or run more than I think I could, I use it when I feel like eating junk food and I resist and I go for the healthy alternative. When I receive a notification on my phone and I'm conversing with another person, instead of going straight after my phone, I'll stay focused on who it is that's in front of me. When my bed is extra comfy and I want to sleep and that extra hour, but I have things that I must do in the morning, so I get up. While in my meditation and my body wants to experience life, I tell it to stay put, and we will get up when I want to. Willpower is the muscle, and the more you use it, the greater it becomes. So sometimes it may seem as though we don't have much self-control. However, it's because it's not practiced enough. Manly B. Hall, he quoted, was saying, so many say life is just one difficulty after another, when in reality, it is the same difficulty presenting itself again and again because it's not mastered. So that led me to really thinking about how I could develop my mastery of willpower. How do I develop and master willpower? Well, I first had to understand the dynamics of willpower. And as I've shared, I had to also understand the history, both from an Eastern and Western philosophy. Because again, there's no right or wrong to my life anymore. But, understanding that there are dynamics to the area of willpower, I had to understand what they were. And the first thing I needed to understand in that dynamic was my own self-reflection for insight. You have to begin by reflecting on your personal values and your long-term goals and understanding both the deeper motivations that you have behind your desires. They build a strong foundation for willpower. I had to, embrace mindfulness practices. When you incorporate mindfulness practices or techniques such as meditation or deep breathing into your daily routine, these practices enhance your self-awareness. They help you recognize impulses and make conscious choices. Building the willpower muscle is another thing that I had to do. And how you did that and how I did that was I had to start small, build gradually, initiate change by setting small, achievable goals. Success in these minor tasks builds confidence and gradually strengthens your willpower for more significant challenges. I had to utilize what I call the 2-minute rule. And what that is, you just take and tackle tasks that contribute to your long-term goals in short 2-minute increments. And this minimizes the psychological barrier that makes it easier to overcome procrastination. I had to visualize my success. I had to see it before I could seize it. I'd create a vivid mental image of my success. 225 in diesel is visually in my brain. I can see what my body looks like. Visualization not only reinforces your commitment, but also stimulates the brain's reward centers, making it easier to stay on course. And there's also strategically planning for your willpower, for building willpower. You need to create a willpower blueprint. You want to develop a personalized plan that includes specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound, i.e. SMART goals. This structured approach provides clarity and accountability. And you want to begin to start thinking strategically by, doing some preemptive problem solving. Anticipate the challenges and devise contingency plans when they come up. And knowing how to navigate obstacles reduces the likelihood of you succumbing to impulsivity in the face of your adversity. You want to also nurture your willpower with lifestyle choices. As I shared with you, I made some significant lifestyle choices in my diet, in my physical fitness regimen, in my sleep pattern. And this is another one. You want to prioritize sleep. A well-rested mind is better equipped to resist temptations. And prioritize quality sleep to ensure that your brain functions optimally when making willpower intensive decisions. Bringing a balanced nutrition to your diet. Fueling your body with nutrient-dense foods. A balanced diet, positively influences your cognitive functions, enhancing your ability to exert self-control. And of course, regular exercise, which we all know, right? Engage in regular physical activity. Exercise not only boosts overall well-being, but it also has a real positive impact on the prefrontal cortex of your brain region, which is responsible for your decision-making and willpower. And then you also want to cultivate a supportive environment. Social accountability. Share your goals with trusted friends or family members. I use this podcast to broadcast what I'm up to. Having a support system creates external accountability, motivating you to stay committed to your objectives. You want to surround yourself with positivity. Curate your environment to support your willpower. I had to eliminate snacks. Now, mind you, my kids have snacks for lunch, and I make their lunches every day, but I've learned how to put those things in context and minimize how much exposure I have to those type of temptations. And I surround myself with other positive influence that align with my goals. You want to also embrace setbacks with resilience. You want to learn from failures. View setbacks as opportunities for growth. Analyze what went wrong, adjust your approach, and use the experience to strengthen your resolve. Cultivate self-compassion. This is a journey, and you want to become, really compassionate for yourself. Be kind to yourself during your challenging times. Developing willpower is a journey, and self-compassion fosters the resilience needed to overcome any obstacles. And you want to also, embrace and start to celebrate milestones. As I've shared with you, 15 pounds. What an achievement. So you want to acknowledge and celebrate your progress. Recognize and even celebrate the small victories. Me reducing my blood sugar. That was a huge deal, but it took something, right? Not eating sugar for a week was a great small victory, because when I did it for that week, I just committed to the next week and then the following week, and it just kept on going and built up to a habit to where now I've even noticed, right, that my taste for sugar is almost eliminated. Now, mind you, I still want to taste sweetness, but I use alternatives that are healthier for my body. So, again, I give myself that as a reward. But, again, like I said, when you're celebrating these small victories, that little positive reinforcement reinforces your commitment and boosts your confidence for the next phase of your journey. So, as I wrap up and in summary, I just want you to know, developing willpower is a multifaceted process that involves self-reflection, strategic planning, lifestyle adjustments, and a resilient mindset. But by integrating these actionable steps into your daily life, you can embark on a transformative journey towards enhanced self-control and lasting personal development. Remember, every step forward is a testament to your growing willpower. Stay committed, stay resilient, and embrace the positive changes on your path to a stronger, more empowered self. So as I wrap up, I want to just thank you again for joining me in this week's episode of the Jump In Podcast with me, your host, Coach John Thomas. And, you can find out how you can develop solid self-discipline skills that will create a lasting and changing impact in your areas of life by engaging with us or hiring me as your coach today at www.coach2create.com, coach2create.com. Now, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Jump In with Coach John podcast, and I would love for you all to like, subscribe, and share it with others. You can find us in all the places like you like to listen to your podcast and also on YouTube. So again, as I shared, thank you for listening and go win the games that you play.